Help me welcome IXPN, represented by the CEO, Mr. Muhammed Rudman. Representing AF-CIX, Joseph. Thank you. Come up. From LINX, the head of global engagement, Nurani Nimpuno. And we're adding a flavor to it, going a bit into Central and Southern Africa. Make welcome Nico, Tshintu from Congo DR. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope we're all enjoying our time so far. Can you all hear me? No? Can you hear me? Is it better now? Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. So we'll just have some quick introductions, and I'll start right from Mr. Rudman. Please, quick introduction of yourself, and then an opening remark to get us started, if you will. Thank you.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Delighted to be here. My name is Muhammed Rudman, the CEO of Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria, and I'm glad we are here. Thank you.
I hope everyone has your headset on. We'll be having someone speaking in French, so once you start speaking, if you need to listen in English, please put your headphones on. Nico will be speaking in French. We'll soon get to him. We'll move to Joseph.
Hi, my name is Joseph. Some people know me as Azubuike, and I head AF-CIX in RAC Center. It's good to be here.
Thank you, Zubi. Nico, please. Thank you.
Oui, mon nom c'est Nico Tshintu. Je suis de la République démocratique du Congo. Je suis de ISPA-DRC. Et nous avons un grand projet qu'on appelle RDCX, qui a 3 points d'échange actuellement, KINX à Kinshasa, Lubix à Lubumbashi, dans le sud du pays, à peu près 2000 km de Kinshasa, et Gomix à l'est du pays, à peu près encore 2000 km de Kinshasa.
And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nurani Nimpuno. I'm with LINX. We run exchange points in Kenya, in Mombasa and Nairobi, but we're also about to launch in Accra, where we interconnect all the data centers and build a fabric. And so that's why I'm here to speak about what's happening in West Africa. My pleasure.
Thank you all for coming. West African Internet Exchange Points, challenges and opportunities. All right, why is West Africa an attractive location? And what is the role of IXPs in this growth? Maybe where we should start from is West Africa really an attractive location for global players? Is it? Let's start with Mr. Rudman, if you don't mind, please.
Yes, West Africa, one is just the sheer number of population. West Africa is the second largest region in Africa. I think East Africa is a bit higher than the West African region. And the strategic location of West Africa in terms of connectivity to Europe, it's closer than the other regions of Africa, of course, except the North Africa, and that's part of the advantage. So the strategic position and then the population, huge number of population, with the diversity of Francophony and Anglophony, and also the most populous country, Nigeria, is also in West Africa, which is also among the largest economies in Africa. I think those are some of the reasons why West Africa is a strategic location, yes.
Does anybody else have anything to say about that? Nurani, please.
Yes, certainly. So I think from our perspective, we've seen, I guess we're in the smaller brother Ghana as opposed to Nigeria, not quite as big as Nigeria. And Nigeria has been quite a mature market for a long time. But from our perspective, we see that there are quite a lot of networks. There are around 100, 120 AS numbers in Ghana. And it's actually a market that we find is maturing. Up until quite recently, there were not many carrier neutral data centers. We've seen new data centers coming in, very modern Tier 4 facilities being built. We also see that the government is also moving in the right direction in terms of investing in fiber developments, and then obviously the submarine cables coming in. So from our perspective, when we build an internet exchange point, we'll look at all those factors, of course. And then we also talk to people on the ground as well as the international players. And so for us, we see that there's a lot of very positive developments in Ghana, but also in West Africa. So we're hoping to play a positive role in that by encouraging that local interconnection in that market.
Thanks, Nurani. I just want to touch on one of the points you made, Mr. Rudman. You said proximity to Europe. I was wondering if the idea behind having an exchange is to localize traffic. Why is proximity to Europe a key point in this?
Yes, so you want to localize traffic as well as no matter how you localize, even the content providers need to find a way to have connectivity between their data centers. And that's why you see the huge investment in some of the content networks, Meta and Google investing in submarine cable. So the proximity makes it a bit cheaper, and that's why you have more connectivity in West Africa. I think it was highlighted here in the early morning slides. I think than the entire rest of Africa. Nigeria has more landing stations, I think, than any other African country because of the population, because of the economy that I mentioned earlier, and also because of the proximity to Europe.
Okay, thank you. So Joseph, what role do IXPs play in this growth that we are alluding to?
So IXPs are very important. The community is the backbone of the ISPs, and we need to understand that the ISP's role is to keep traffic local. And if these guys come into the region, the cloud players, is an incentive for the ISPs to connect with these cloud players. And where does it happen? It happens on the exchanges. We want to try as much as possible to limit the traffic to the region so that there is resilience, there is low latency, and basically we serve the community in a way that's conducive.
Thank you. Nico, please let me know if you have anything to contribute as it regards to your experience in DRC, and I'll come to you. Is that okay?
Si j'ai des commentaires à faire, c'est un peu situer les cadres dans lesquels le point d'échange évolue en Afrique. C'est un environnement un peu différent de la définition classique d'un point d'échange, c'est-à-dire un point d'échange qui évolue dans un écosystème où tous les acteurs sont matures, c'est-à-dire il y a l'infrastructure, il y a des consommateurs et il y a du contenu. En ce moment-là, on peut parler que le point d'échange évolue normalement. Mais si un point d'échange se trouve dans un environnement où il n'y a pas de contenu, là où il n'y a pas assez d'infrastructure, c'est un peu difficile à un point d'échange d'évoluer. Et c'est là maintenant le point d'échange, au lieu de jouer le rôle traditionnel, il sera appelé à jouer un autre rôle, des catalyseurs, c'est-à-dire de booster les autres acteurs, les autres communautés pour qu'ensemble, on puisse construire le point d'échange. Voilà un peu les commentaires que j'ai en ce moment.
Thanks, Nico. I've always heard that cross-border interconnection is often talked about as a challenge, especially in West Africa, maybe the entire continent, I dare say. What has been the biggest challenge for interconnection growth in West Africa from your experience? I'm looking at, say, trying to connect, rather than having maybe in Nigeria or Ghana as a single metro, what's the problem having West Africa as a metro and then you interconnect the whole of West Africa? Is this a challenge? And if it is, what kind of bottlenecks or roadblocks have you guys tried to navigate up until now and going forward? Joseph?
Okay, so I feel the major problem we have in West Africa as a region is we lack collaborations among ourselves. So each nation or each state treats it as a solving problem, trying to solve interconnections themselves. What we see is, if you take Nigeria or any of the country as a silo to do a case study, you see that interconnection is basically based in major cities, like your Lagos, your Abuja, or your Port Harcourt, thereabout, if you're using Nigeria as an instance. So I think there needs to be more collaboration, because collaboration is, to me, the most important thing that needs to happen here before we think about having terrestrial backbone between all the countries in West Africa, crisscrossing the countries. So if there is no unity, if there is no trust, if there's no collaboration between these countries, if everybody is trying to solve it how they know how best to, I don't think we would ever resolve the issue, in my opinion.
Why is collaboration a problem? Is it that it doesn't make an economic sense, or it's just a matter of saying, oh, I'm Togo, I don't care about what's going on in Nigeria, or I'm Ghana, I can stand alone, or I'm Cote d'Ivoire, I'm French speaking, I'm not English speaking. Are you finding this kind of bottlenecks in your conversations on the West Coast?
Well, you can say that if we take EU for an example, it's treated as a whole. If you look at how Europe is structured and how interconnection works there. But for us, for some reason, like I said, maybe due to sovereign laws, due to the fact that we are diverse and we are quite different people, we just tend to think about stuff that centers around interconnection in silos. That's the way I say it. For it to happen, I think ECOWAS or whoever needs to think out of the box. How can we merge the countries in terms of a common goal? How can we get the region interconnected?
Thanks, Joseph. Nurani, is merging really a good idea, or you just leave each country and then they're fragmented the way they are? Ghana, do your thing. Nigeria, do your thing. Senegal, do your thing. And then whoever wants to communicate between Nigeria and Senegal will go through transit. That's your problem. Is that optimal, or we should actually be fostering that convergence as we're talking about?
Yeah, so first of all, I agree with the previous points by Joseph, and I think Nico also put it well in that the role of an IXP is really to be that catalyst for growth. There's nothing magic about IXPs themselves, but being a catalyst where you bring together all the players and actually foster that collaboration. I think in West Africa, while there are a lot of opportunities, the challenges are both in terms of infrastructure. There needs to be a lot more infrastructure, fiber infrastructure, not just country-wise, but also across. We know that there are issues there with cross-border licensing. Sometimes it's also about, because the regulation is not consistent across countries, so it's difficult for people to build that infrastructure. Then also, collaboration, I think that some of the challenges are sometimes not even collaboration across borders, but actually also within the same country, and particularly in countries that don't have this mature peering ecosystem where you understand that there's a mutual benefit in collaboration. There's often some mistrust, or at least some hesitations about working with others in that ecosystem because people feel that, they want to protect their piece of the pie. So when we had a launch event in Ghana last month, and we brought together all the big players, all the competitors, if you want, all the competing networks and all the competing data centers, if you want. And we try to say that actually collaborating and interconnecting data centers and getting even competitors to speak to each other will actually grow the entire market, grow the entire pie, so to speak. But I think that's a process that needs to sometimes take some time. When we know in mature markets, so we know in London this has been the case for a long time, and people compete. There's very harsh competition in some areas, but there's also this recognition that there are areas where we can partner or areas where even if we don't partner, the fact that it is of mutual benefit to interconnect is good for our business. And I think sometimes that's a process that takes some time, and you need to see it to believe it.
Thanks, Nurani. I think there's someone here that has seen it. I'm coming to you last on this, Mr. Rudman. I know you've tried to build a bridge between IXPN and in Nigeria and then in Ghana, so that we don't go on a different tangent and we'll spend another 2 hours here. So what I'll need you to help us wrap our heads around is, what were the success items you saw when that link was established? I know it was later taken down. What were the good things you saw when that was established?
Okay, it's a drop in latency, significant drop in latency. In fact, recently an ISP in Ghana got connected to Nigeria. They shared the statistics of the latency before and after connecting to IXPN. It was so impressive. Reaching a local internet service here, a service provider in Nigeria here, sometimes is around 190 to 200 milliseconds. By the time they got connected directly, it has dropped to around 15 milliseconds. Some of them a little bit less than that. So the significant impact was that there was actually a traffic person between Nigeria and Ghana, and the latency has significantly dropped. So, but if I'm to expand on what they are saying, is that sometimes the collaboration and other things do not happen because there is no real demand. When SAT3 was designed, in the initial days, the design was for the cable to reach out to the internet. There was no direct connectivity between the landing stations of SAT3. So the design is that everything from Nigeria, it goes to Europe. From Benin Republic, it goes to Europe. So for you to connect between Nigeria and Benin Republic, you have to go to Europe based on the design. Some of the other submarine cables that came in also had similar designs, and that's why we're looking forward to Africa too, that will now create that environment where between African countries there will be an exchange of traffic. Because at that time there was nothing like domestication of traffic. So nobody is looking to connect between Nigeria and Ghana or any other place because there was no content. But now the dynamics are changing. Content providers are coming into Africa, and now there is an opportunity for some to reach to the hub. Like for example, Nigeria now, we have seen ISPs from Niger and other parts. The demand is now being created for them to interconnect with Nigeria. The only challenge is that the capacity exists, but it's just that it's on the high side. So it's more expensive to connect between Nigeria to Ghana than between Nigeria to London. So our objective in near future is to see that we have domesticated traffic, which is within Nigeria, that is going to be very cheap. Then you have regional traffic within the West African region, and then the international traffic that will go out of the continent.
Thank you, sir. Nico, do you have any collaboration experience you would like to share with us from Congo and Central Africa? If any.
Oui, l'expérience en termes d'interconnexion des réseaux, ce n'était pas facile au début parce que, Comme vous savez, tout à l'heure, Nurani l'a dit, les opérateurs de foi, au début, ils ne savent pas collaborer entre eux, ils ne savent pas se mettre d'accord pour pouvoir partager les charges. Et ça a été un exercice difficile, mais grâce à la dynamique qui a été imprimée au niveau de l'association, on a pu mettre les opérateurs ensemble. Je peux dire que nous sommes en train de construire l'écosystème en Afrique centrale. Et cet écosystème, avec la présence de points d'échange, ça développe d'autres acteurs comme des transmetteurs numériques. Aujourd'hui, il y a des constructeurs de data centers qui sont en train de venir à Kinshasa parce qu'il y a un travail qui a été fait au niveau de points d'échange. Il y a les contenus, les fournisseurs de contenus qui sont en train aussi de se manifester. Et en même temps, en tant que gestionnaire de points d'échange, nous sommes en train d'aller vers eux, de les encourager et sans toutefois oublier, parce que nous avons un partenaire que deux fois nous oublions de l'associer à ce que nous faisons, c'est le gouvernement, c'est-à-dire les institutions du gouvernement. Aussi longtemps qu'elles ne comprennent pas ce que nous faisons, c'est très difficile. Nous devons les évangéliser, nous devons les amener à comprendre ce que nous faisons. Et en ce moment-là, parce que c'est eux qui ont la dernière décision, si eux décident autrement et vous décidez autrement, ça bloque au niveau de le développement de l'écosystème du pairing. Mais je crois, l'expérience que nous avons en RDC, c'est de mettre tout le monde d'accord, et les secteurs privés, et les pouvoirs publics, et voire même les chercheurs, et voire même encore d'autres partenaires externes comme les Meta, les Google et les autres, à comprendre qu'il y a du potentiel au Congo, ils peuvent venir investir. Je me rappelle au début avec Google ne voulait même pas venir en RDC. Il a fallu beaucoup insister pour qu'ils viennent, de même avec Meta. Meta avait hésité, mais aujourd'hui, Meta est notre partenaire, il est en train de nous soutenir. Et dernièrement, pour un peu, j'étais surpris de voir Ben, il est là, je parle sous son contrôle. Il me demande si on peut avoir un troisième point d'échange à Bunia. Voilà. Et si même on peut avoir un autre dans une autre ville. Ce qui hier n'était pas possible. C'est-à-dire, au niveau du point d'échange, il faut travailler avec tout le monde, tous les acteurs, et j'insiste beaucoup, évangéliser surtout nos décideurs politiques. Parce que si elles comprennent, tout va marcher.
Thank you, Nico. I believe this is the time when things like this happen, I regret dropping out from my French classes. The English didn't come through on time. I hope I captured everything Nico spoke about. Moving quickly to another question. From Microsoft's, my position in Microsoft, when I hear a new exchange coming up, one of the things I look at is, yes, I'm trying to build redundancy in that metro. So it's a good thing if, for instance, I have IXPN, and then I hear that an AF-CIX is coming into the market. I already have AF-CIX. I'm happy, okay, yes, I can build redundancy in that market. I'm with KIXP in Nairobi. I hear LINX is coming. Brilliant, perfect. I have redundancy in that metro. However, what I look for is unique pairs. So are we getting it wrong in our outlook or what we're looking at? Because when it's too much. And the reason why I'm saying this is, how do you guys attract peers into your exchanges? If I'm in Lagos, for instance, I'm in IXPN already, and then I'm in AF-CIX Lagos, and then AF-CIX is asking me to come. I'm guessing you're having the same challenge attracting some other peers into a third exchange. What should we be looking at? Is there more to it than just redundancy, unique pairs? Are we getting our metrics wrong in our choosing to go into a new exchange? So tell me how you guys are succeeding, or if you're failing, you let us know, in attracting new pairs into your exchanges. Let's start with Joseph has a new exchange, so he probably has the biggest headache here.
Okay, to be honest, we're having a lot of challenges with the content players. For the eyeball networks, it's easy because when AF-CIX was conceived, it was more like a value add to the ecosystem. For us, it's not about generating profit or revenue. For us, it was how could we give back to the ecosystem? And that was why AF-CIX was conceived in the first instance. So getting the right peers is something that we've been trying to do for a while. I would say it's working, but when it comes to the content players, there's always a story around, I'm already connecting on this exchange, what are your unique networks, and blah, 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 like that. But if you look at other markets, I know we are not where we want to be. If you compare us with other emerging markets or other markets who have emerged. If I take Frankfurt for an example, you have more than 2 or 3 exchanges, and there's no issue of fragmentation. One way or the other, it works. So just to cut the long story short, for us, it's about value. It's about giving back to the ecosystem. It's about redundancy and resiliency for us.
You are inching to speak, please.
No, but I'm happy to comment. So from LINX's perspective, there are a few different things that we look at. And so LINX, the L in LINX stands for London because we started in London. We're one of the oldest exchange points in the world. And the reason we started there was really because there was a need to keep local traffic local in Europe, because it was at a time 31 years ago where all the content was in the US. So it actually started by operators coming together to form LINX. And that's always sat at the core of what we do. It's if we can encourage local interconnection, that's what we do. And when we started looking at Africa, we've been coming to AfPIF meetings for, well, personally, I've been coming for 20 years or so. And we saw that we have quite a lot of members in Africa, and a lot of members sending that traffic up to London. And I think everyone knows about the 80-20 rule. And in fact, it's more, because Africa is a very large continent. So if you look at Northern Africa, that's 99 to 100% of that goes to Europe. And then Sub-Saharan Africa, that's even more. That's actually not staying local. And we said that, well, if we're about local interconnection, maybe we should actually serve those members on the continent. We've done it in other parts of the UK and other parts of the world as well. So that was what motivated us to go to Africa. Before we go anywhere, we actually start talking to the local community. So we don't actually just do a business case and go. We actually start speaking to operators on the ground to understand, what is this market like? Is it well served in terms of interconnection? Is there a need that we can fill? We also speak to the large global players to understand if we can help them by building locally. So we're not going to go anywhere without speaking to people on the ground and people who have an interest in interconnecting. So that means that once we launch, we actually know that there is a need, and because it also helps overcoming that chicken and egg problem when you start and you launch an IXP, and before an IXP has anyone connected, it doesn't bring any value, right? So you need to attract those. We also always has one of our fundamental principles that we always want to serve the entire ecosystem. So we don't just go to one data center, but we interconnect them. And that is really to avoid fragmenting the market, because we don't want to have one exchange point at one data center, another at another, and then you have all of a sudden 4 different data centers with their own IXPs. That's not going to help grow the entire ecosystem. We also look at, so for example, Nigeria. We think Nigeria is well served. We don't think there's a need for LINX to come into Nigeria, so that's why we've said it's a huge market, it's got lots of potential, but we don't actually think we can do any good by coming in now. We think if we came in now, we would fragment the market. So that's why we decide to go to Ghana, for example, and not Nigeria. And then as a last point, I guess, we do think, I mean, you can have philosophical discussions about how many IXPs is good for a market, but I think it depends on the maturity of that market. I think there are many examples globally of where a second IXP has actually helped spur that market growth. And what you'll see in the end is actually that the original IXP will grow from the addition of the second IXP. So that's actually what we try to do.
Yeah. Thanks, Nurani. I know that question is a bit nuanced for you, Mr. Rudman, because you have the power of incumbency here. Mm-hmm. So how, two questions in one now, because we're trying to round up. How do you attract new networks into IXPN? And secondly, what is the role of community building in a successful IXP? How, in a nutshell, how are you giving back to that community that you're serving at the moment? And what is that, how is that impacting in the community you serve?
Okay, so two questions in one. But one is that for us, new customers, we try as much as possible to create new customers, because there are ISPs in Nigeria, for example, that do not have autonomous system numbers. So we try and encourage them, guide them. We do trainings in partnership with AfRINIC on how to acquire IP resources and autonomous system numbers. So we do hand-holding when it comes to acquiring IP resources. And we try as much as possible to also go out of Lagos to identify locations where we can establish an exchange point. So for example, the statistics in Nigeria, you have 260 autonomous system numbers, networks that have that. Out of that, only 60% are active, 40% are not active. Those 40% are actually educational institutions, financial institutions, electricity companies, churches, and the rest. They have the resources, but yet is not active. So we try to reach out to them to see how we can assist and guide them. For states that have number of autonomous system numbers, so in Nigeria, for example, we have 7 states that have 4 and above autonomous system numbers. The rest have only 3, 2, 1. In fact, 40% of Nigerian states, that is 15 states in Nigeria, do not have, there is no single network that have autonomous system number. You will see a place like Gombe where they have a city that has 1 million people, yet there is no single local internet service provider. And it's based on that we now try to reach out. The value you said we add to the community. So out of the revenues we generate in Lagos, all the surplus, we try and plow it back into the community to see how do we train people in Gombe. We were in Gombe last year, for example, to bring the educational institutions together, to provide them the awareness, to see how maybe we can aggregate educational institutions into one single ASN and all that, to see how we can add value. So in our own case, we try to reach the customers and the potential customers to assist them in acquiring autonomous system numbers.
Thank you. Nico, what is KIXIP doing in building the community in Kinshasa specifically, and maybe broadly the whole of DRC?
Bon, je crois que je pars de la définition de point d'échange et des acteurs de point d'échange. Il y a les fournisseurs d'accès Internet et il y a les fournisseurs de contenus. Et si vous voyez, la plupart de nos points d'échange en Afrique nous vivent grâce au contenu qui n'est pas africain, c'est-à-dire les applications qui viennent de l'extérieur et qui viennent pour que le point d'échange puisse survivre. Alors, au niveau de Kinshasa, nous nous sommes orientés beaucoup plus aussi vers les acteurs locaux, c'est-à-dire les fournisseurs de contenu. Et nous essayons de les encourager, enfin les accompagner à avoir des ressources Internet, c'est-à-dire les adresses IP, les AS numbers, afin de pouvoir produire localement et venir se connecter au point d'échange. Et là, nous avons une expérience qui est en train de marcher. Il y a une société locale qui fait la télé-IP, et que nous avons approché, que nous avons accompagné et qui travaille même avec les IP de la partie management de notre point d'échange. Et à part ça, nous travaillons aussi avec d'autres acteurs locaux. Dès que nous les découvrons, nous les encadrons, nous les amenons à produire localement et à venir se connecter sur le point d'échange. Nous le faisons aussi avec les institutions étatiques. Là, nous sommes en train de travailler avec notre régulateur. Je crois d'ici 2 ou 3 semaines, nous allons héberger même son serveur mail sur le point d'échange. Avec la Banque centrale du Congo, nous avons travaillé avec eux. Bref, nous essayons un peu de travailler avec tout le monde, tous les potentiels fournisseurs de contenus, afin qu'ils produisent les contenus qui intéressent les populations locales, parce que nous nous sommes rendus compte que l'Internet en soi n'est pas utilisé pour le travail. L'Internet, beaucoup plus dans nos pays, est utilisé pour la distraction. Et nous voulons que nos administrations digitalisent les services et qu'ils disponibilisent ces services-là, qu'ils soient de meilleure qualité à travers le point d'échange. C'est un grand challenge que nous avons, c'est un grand défi que nous avons et nous travaillons avec tout le monde et nous en appelons aussi à d'autres partenaires qui ont l'expérience là-dessus de nous donner un coup de pouce afin que le point d'échange joue réellement son rôle de garder les contenus locaux en local.
Thank you very much, Nico. I'm aware that AF-CIX and LINX are also in support of local communities. Is there anything specific you want to touch in that regard? Because we're out of time, actually. You can quickly speak to that. Any specific thing about the community building?
I'll be super quick. I think we try to do a number of things when we recognize that we're not the local experts where we go. So for us, local partnerships is incredibly important. We rely on our local partners to be the experts. In terms of capacity building, we think there are a range of things. It's not just the one solution. So we do everything from events, drinks and food is a really good way of just getting people together to talk to each other. We try to support the local NOGs because we don't claim to be the experts in everything. So if we can support a NOG where people can learn from each other, that's incredibly powerful. And then we do training courses as well. We do tutorials, webinars, but we also, so recently in Nairobi, we sent a trainer on site to do a 1-week hands-on workshop. So we try to do those things, so a range of things really to support local community building, but also capacity building.
Thank you all for the work you do. Thanks, Nurani, for coming. Nico, Joseph, Mr. Rudman, really thanks for your time here. And let's give it up for all 4 of them. And thank you all for listening.